Hey there, it's Mike Langford. Welcome to the Augmented Advisor Podcast, brought to you by Blue Leaf. On this episode of the show, John Prendergast and I are joined by Lacy Garcia, founder and CEO of Willow, a firm that helps financial advisors better serve women investors. John and I asked Lacy to come on the show to explore a strategy she recommended on another podcast in a bit more depth here. That strategy? Well, it starts with thinking of how you can open up your network to your clients in powerful ways with an eye on helping them achieve their goals. And it grows from there. Now, before we get to the fantastic conversation with Lacy Garcia, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Amazon, the YouTubes, or wherever you like to get your podcast jam on. And if you have a question or a suggestion for a topic or guest for the show, please feel free to reach out by shooting us an email, podcast@blueleaf.com, or swing by the website, or hit us up on the socials. Blue Leaf, John, myself, we are all active on LinkedIn and Twitter, and we're super easy to find. Okay. Let's get to our conversation with Lacy Garcia. Well, Lacy Garcia from Willow, John Prendergast. So nice to see you this morning. Welcome to the Augmented Advisor Podcast.
Welcome, Lacy.
Thank you, John. And Mike, it's lovely to be here with you both.
It's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this one. As we were talking about in prep, this is going to be, I think, one of our more vibrant and back and forth and again, think more conversational episodes of the show that we've had so far. And I have to credit you, Lacy, because you really inspired this conversation with a previous conversation you and I had on the Modern Financial Advisor podcast about a month or so ago. You know, we were talking about what you do at Willow and how financial advisors can better serve their women clients. And one of the things that you suggested is that advisors get better at opening up their proverbial Rolodex, right? Open up the network to their women clients. So especially those who are business owners, right? To help them raise capital and so forth. So let's start there so that everybody else can get a dose of the inspiration. Why is it something that you and the team at Willow recommend for financial advisors, that advisors get better at opening up their network for women clients? And I guess we could also just clients in general.
You know, we love the opportunity that the growth of women entrepreneurs and women's control of wealth presents to financial advisors. And one of the best ways is that there is a challenge right now for women entrepreneurs in actually getting access to capital. They're not as well socially networked. Total share of venture capital going to women founders is actually down to only 2% of all venture capital funding. And, you know, when we look at venture capital firms, 90% of the partners are men, and upwards to 85 or 90% of all venture capital funding actually goes to male founders. So financial advisors are tremendously well networked, right? They're people persons, and they have these amazing Rolodexes, right? And this is just a win-win-win for them to open up their network and make a connection to the women business owners that they know. And they can, you know, it could be, first of all, if they help the woman business owner, entrepreneur to succeed and she's a client or can become a client, then that's potential massive liquidity event for her or a lifelong client for them. Also, they could very well, they don't necessarily have to have venture capitalists in their network, but they probably have folks who could be angel investors. So it's helping them to bring diversification. As we know, the private markets are so attractive right now, bringing diversification to their portfolio. And women entrepreneurs are also 1.17 times more likely to have a social mission as part of their company. So it also allows them to have ESG diversification. And a lot of times, you know, think of some of the older, if you think about your book, you probably have some older clients who are looking for something to do with their time and would love nothing more to be able to become a mentor, to get involved. Like they don't have access to all these young startups or these kind of amazing ESG businesses. So therefore, you not only can help them to diversify from a portfolio standpoint, but you could also bring them incredible joy, you know, and sort of more purpose in their life. So it's just a win-win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's clearly very powerful to open your network to clients. And you know, the client benefits, but also the person that you refer to benefits.
Totally.
And even if nothing specific comes out of it, you know, both people are going to view the advisor more favorably, and your reputation,
Completely.
your business probably grows. I think what's amazing is beyond that, it's possible to do this at scale, and even without the direct introductions. Tech industry does this quite well. Salesforce hosts this massive conference every year called Dreamforce. Thousands of customers show up, and they make connections. They learn and grow as well.
Right.
I mean, they even paid to attend. So, what are your thoughts on some of the opportunities for advisors to think bigger about going beyond financial advice, maybe into community?
I think actually when we were last speaking, Mike, you were talking about some of the opportunities just to create a Facebook group, right?
Sure.
Or a LinkedIn group where you can connect your clients to other sort of clients or folks in your network around shared interests. So just to take a kind of a quick step back, I mean, most wealth managers have built a practice around particular niche, right? Or area of expertise, which is typically kind of something that they're passionate about, right? And that's also, how do you build community? It's through those shared hobbies, interest, knowledge bases, right? So if you think about, and how do we create value for our clients, which become sticky, kind of like lifelong relationships? It's not just with the financial advice, it's with helping them with all other sort of aspects of their life, right? With their family, with their work, with building this community. So just taking a look sort of at your book and whatever your particular niche or your passions are, and some of the clients that you have, you can connect them like online. One way to do this really sort of easily, and also a way to make it kind of to scale sort of quicker, right? But think about what those shared kind of passions are, what your niche is, and how you can help to connect your clients. And I think I then take it back to, as we're all starting to go kind of back out in the world, right? And being in person, I just got back. I was in New York at a series of in-person events last week, which was really sort of exciting to be back in person again. But take a look at your network, and if you have younger clients, right, who have children, like host a barbecue, right? Outdoor barbecue, bring them together, and it's something where the kids can all play together while the parents can network. Like, that's something super easy that you can do. Great time of year to do that, right? Or if you have a lot of widowed clients or older clients, what are some of the activities that they would like to do that you maybe can bring them together around that?
Yeah, I love the opportunity for serendipity here. For, as you're suggesting, whether it's creating a Facebook group or LinkedIn group or having even an in-person gathering of something, because, it's kind of a weird thing to think about. Like, if you're a financial advisor, and the typical financial advisor manages somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 clients, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, depending upon their model and what have you. Many of those clients don't know each other, right? But there might be a lot of really interesting connection opportunities there, right? Like, and then it's funny because it happens all the time. I think if you and I went on LinkedIn or Facebook, you'd be surprised that there'd be a couple of people like, oh, how do you know that guy? How do you know that lady? Like, I went to college with her. Like, where did you guys meet? And oh my gosh. Or, hey, I'm looking to solve this problem, and you might know somebody who can help me solve this problem. And sure enough, you know an attorney, or whatever. And so it's such a strange thing to think for financial advisors. For most of them, I think each client is somewhat of a silo, right? I mean, obviously there's privacy concerns, but there's a silo. It's like, I have my relationship with John. I have my relationship with Lacy, and Lacy and John don't know each other. Well, why is that? Well, let's do a little bit of extra work. This is what I think this is going to be the fun part of the conversation. You kicked it off with the Facebook group thing, but I wanted to dive into this a little deeper here about some suggestions and some kind of action steps that advisors can take from this episode to implement in their business. So leaning into the LinkedIn and the Facebook groups just a little harder. Number one, they are free, financial advisor, right? So you do not need to pay Facebook or LinkedIn any money to create a free group and invite your existing clients and their children, if you want to include families and whatever, and say, hey, this group is for clients and network to share tips, tricks, resources, what have you. And it only takes you a few minutes every week to moderate that group, right? To go in there and ask questions or whatever. I guess the question I would have is what would you do with the LinkedIn group with your clients?
Well, so At Willow, we do, first of all, I mean, best practice sharing, right? So my clients are wealth managers and their clients, right? Yeah. So we're always helping them and connecting with them with the latest data and insights and best practices on how they can, how they can do a better job of supporting their clients. But what I would do if I were in a financial advisor's position and I was reaching out to my clients, like, so for instance, like the topic of women entrepreneurs, right? Mm-hmm. So we have created a kind of how-to guide of resources, funding sources, different networking groups. And, this is the type of information that could be provided to a group of women entrepreneurs and potential investors. And as folks are looking to hire, right, or to fundraise or to demo new products or services or to get, feedback and advice, like putting it out there in the group, these would be the types of, that's one particular activity that's super easy and action oriented, and happy to provide that kind of how-to guide to folks where they can start a conversation around an area that they then can follow up with specific resources, with specific recommendations, with like action items that will help those entrepreneurs to kind of move forward.
I love that. It's like shining a spotlight on your client a little bit, right? So as an example, so as you mentioned, you have a woman client in your client roster in the network. She's raising capital for her business, or the business, she doesn't need to raise capital, but the business is a relatively new, like shine a light on her. Give her, hey, here's an audience. Today we're doing an AMA with Lacy Garcia from Willow. Come on in and ask her some questions. She'll talk about how she built the business, what they're trying to do, and you guys can bring connections and so forth. It's really kind of cultivating that community.
Well, and you think about it, so many times when people are starting businesses and even several years in as they're growing, bringing new products to market, they're giving a lot of things away for free too, right? Mm-hmm. So there's also an opportunity for you to be able to provide a valuable service to some of your other clients because they're looking for folks who can use and provide feedback on their product or their service. And that's a benefit that you can give to your other clients by giving them access. Like when we started Willow, we provided free coaching, to women to validate the platform. And that was something that advisors could go and give to their clients, right? Yeah. And it was a win-win-win. So that's the type of thing. And I know, John, you're obviously know this space super, super well. But I mean, that's, you're once again connecting the dots, right? And there's that ripple effect of the value that, is huge just by putting out one post, right? On LinkedIn. It takes like a minute.
And Lacy, when you were founding Willow, and you were building those additional services, how'd you get there, right? It's not necessarily obvious what all those other services need to be to support the client base that you're hoping to support, in this case, women clients. So how'd you approach that? How'd you think through it? How did you test it? I think advisors in the audience could really learn lessons from that.
So first of all, I was a advisor, right? And I got to see sort of inside out, quite frankly, what was wrong with the vast majority of the industry and how they were approaching and serving and supporting women clients. Because I was also myself a longstanding client of a male financial advisor who's still my advisor, who I have a wonderful relationship with. But I needed guidance beyond my investments in my estate plan around multiple life events, and we call them life journeys, which were not areas of comfort or topics that I would have felt comfortable having conversations or getting, getting advice and the financial advice that followed, such as fertility and divorce and single parenting and starting my business and starting my business actually is one where, where advisors, I think, are uniquely qualified to really kind of help, help folks with the money matters and growing their business. But I had that experience. So then I had my own kind of hypothesis and theory and the data. But then with the business plan, you start by you start by, I had been in the entrepreneurial space and had some kind of, my co-founders are proven entrepreneurs. So we had sort of a little, leg up there, but we did a ton of research. We talked to hundreds of advisors, clients, coaches. We really did the data and the analysis. And so we knew that our thesis, there was a really high likelihood that it would be successful when we went out of the gate, right? When we kind of raised our friends and family round and built the platform. So the important thing is obviously to do your research, know your audience, and to constantly be learning, trying and learning, but be data driven, be paying attention and being accountable to the metrics, right? And also being super capital efficient, because COVID, quite frankly, expanded a lot of timelines with a lot of startup businesses where it's taken kind of longer than it would have under different circumstances.
I love the fact that you said getting to know your client, right? Knowing what their needs are, and how much effort you and the Willow team put into that process before you even launched, right? And that's, for those outside the traditional, what we call startup ecosystem, this may feel kind of new. Like you did all this research and talked to like hundreds of people before. But, if you're an advisor with an existing business, this is something you can be doing all the time, right? So when you sit down with a client, whether it's for a quarterly meeting or whatever, just expand the questions you're asking, right? Ask them about, we had this fun conversation, the three of us on the prep call about, you took your son to a Bruins game and you get to see an amazing experience there, like a hat trick in his first game or whatever. And then you took him to a New England Revolution game. And I had taken my son to a Spurs game, and we kind of got us thinking like, hey, just talk about like what types of sporting events, what type of events you like to go to, and then put that out into the network, right? Like, hey, who has season tickets and occasionally likes to, like, maybe we have like a community of, we know who's got Revolution tickets, Bruins tickets, Celtics tickets, Red Sox tickets. And occasionally if somebody wants to go to a game or is looking to offload their tickets, they can come to the community first to do that. And that can even be something that's done on that LinkedIn group, or heck, it can be on an email list, right? Where you send a weekly email out to people about all the things going on.
Yeah. And Mike, that was, I think, your idea, right? It was a brilliant one. And I can speak as a single mom who, I don't know like how to get tickets. Like, not that I don't know how to get tickets, but I'm very busy, but I certainly would benefit greatly from help. Like that's some super easy thing that, advisors can do. You've got tickets, the games, like reaching out, like obviously, but a lot of times women will want to do those things, but don't necessarily have all the information or know how to get it done as quickly and easily. So that was a great idea, like to put tickets out there or connect your female clients to sporting events. I think it's a fantastic idea. Something very tangible that folks can take away.
That research-driven approach, it strikes me, for our community might feel a little intimidating, like a lot of work. But it struck me when you were speaking, it was really two simple things that advisors should have in spades, right? One is curiosity, right? So the curiosity to ask questions that go beyond this thing that I'm working to deliver with my client. What about the rest of their lives?
Yeah.
And two, humility, the humility to know that you don't know all of the answers here, that you don't know your clients, and that you want to find out more about it. And it's amazing what can happen when you put those two things in practice, like what you've done at Willow.
Well, and also, John, the most successful entrepreneurs and advisors are solving a problem that they intimately understand, right? Yeah. That they are, what is it, find your why, right? What are you passionate about? And that's, that's how you can then build a business and connect with clients who you will authentically connect with, right? Because maybe it is that you are the child of doctors and, you didn't go into medicine, but you love working with the medical community, right? And you want to work with doctors, right? And that's something that you're super passionate about and you have outside interests and you can connect and bring that through. And that's like the most then it's not work, right? The research is just like, a check-in, right? It's confirming that you're on the right track. It's identifying areas where we can all constantly be tweaking and be innovating, become more efficient with all the new technology and tools, right? That we're rapidly learning. Like I was joking with a friend that, the internet wasn't even created until I was in high school, right? So not to date myself here, but it's something new every day, right?
Yeah.
So we're all like trying to drink it from the fire hose. But if your real focus and your mission is aligned with your passions and your knowledge base, then that makes it easy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. To your point of finding out what you're passionate about, and then creating that connective tissue, if you will, with your client base is so huge. And I want to dive into that a little bit more in a while. But wrap it up the area of what I would call tactical things you can do. Right, these are things for building your community. And you alluded to one of them earlier. Have a gathering. It can be a cookout. It can be we do seminar type stuff. A lot of advisors built their business using the seminar approach. I come in and I talk to you about financial planning or whatever. There are other types of seminars. They can be, as an example, you brought up the internet. So I think we're all are in the same general, draw a relatively big circle age bracket. I am apparently the last generation of adults to become an adult before the internet was a thing, right? I can remember my first job and not really having the internet on a computer. And then a couple of years later, you have the internet, right? So I remember adult life. I remember having to have a printed out map to figure out how to go places type of thing, right? But, people in that generation, in our generation, so as an example, my kids are using things like TikTok and things that I don't, and I'm pretty savvy with social, but I'd have no time for TikTok or whatever, or some of the memes that my kids are using. You could have a whole seminar, hey, let's come in and understand the stuff that your kids are doing or your grandchildren are doing with technology. How do they consume the world? And that can help you better relate to your clients, right? And I think that would be something of interest, right? It doesn't have to be all, here's financial planning stuff.
Totally. No, I mean, that's a great one. I mean, doing a seminar on what is TikTok and how to understand it would probably be incredibly well attended, right? And that's the thing, because you're finding areas to connect with that are beyond just the financial part, right? That's a lot of times where the real sort of relationship is built. To your point, the connective tissue, obviously making sure that you're supporting their financial goals and their plans and helping them to achieve those. But at the same time, you're really supporting their overall life, right? Their financial and kind of holistic wellness. So I think that's a good one. Anything on the tech, and the things that are just timely, right? Obviously this is financial literacy month, spring cleaning out your finances, things that are connected to finances, but also I do think the technology piece is a great one as folks are trying to understand it. Also a good way to kind of bring in multiple generations, which is what so much of us are trying to do, is figure out how to connect and to support and really to be able to retain that next generation of clients. So anything that's on the kind of forefront from a technology standpoint is certainly a great way to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting.
By the way, I've got stuck in my head. I don't know about you guys, but my first cell phone was literally the car phone that was in the do you remember the big bag
case
that you had to carry?
Yeah.
The case. And I remember having to carry that when I went out with a fake ID.
This was
how not cool was that?
That was back when you needed to know the wattage of your cell phone. There was a 3 watt, a 1.2, a 0.6.
Oh,
do you remember when that first Nokia came out and that was so cool? It was that because it had gone from this big.
The bag phone, yeah. I remember I worked at BFDS, Boston Financial Data Services, right? And they had this program where employees could get, I think it was Singular or somebody, I can't remember what the wireless company was, but you could get, for $10 a month, you could get a cell phone. And I was driving this piece of crap 1985 Volkswagen Jetta that I had bought for $1,000 that smelled like waffles when you turn the heat on. So somebody had obviously spilled syrup in there at one point in time. And I'm like, I'm totally getting one of these cell phones because this thing's going to break down any day. And sure enough, it did. Like, I was on the way home and I had to call like my parents like, hey, can somebody come get me? I broke down on the side of the road or whatever. And it was like, but you couldn't use it because it was so darn expensive. They gave you like 20 minutes a month or something crazy like that to use the plan. But so it was just an emergency brick that you got. But it's funny, like that could be an interesting conversation to have with your clients, like evolution of technology and like what technology do you feel uncomfortable with now?
Actually, how fun would that be? And that's actually a really fun, like intergenerational event, right? To bring like the kids can come and like laugh at their grandparents and their parents, right?
Yeah.
But it could be bridging the gap, right?
I've thought about how fun it would be, and you could actually do this if you were an advisor. By the way, you could have a time machine night and have people go back to like, you want to see what it was like in 1985? We have now replicated a room. This is 1985 in here. It's got a landline phone, one phone. It's got an old tube TV. By the way, a really big one that was 19 inches, my friend, on a console. This is a big TV. And they with the stupid antenna on top and say, okay, here you go. Here's what it was like when I was a kid. Hilarious. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. So
I've got one other tactical.
Oh, please do bring in the tactical. Yes.
Go. So one thing, and you talked about the email list, which I think is a great idea. Yeah. But for instance, like this is an easy one to talk about, just the entrepreneurs. So, and this isn't just for women, but anybody who's starting a business. As I mentioned, we've got this like how-to guide, which is a one pager back to back. But I honestly, having been somebody who was a financial advisor, who was in the entrepreneurial space, a successful kind of entrepreneur previously, the information in here, I wish that somebody had given it to me. Like I spent the last 2 years in this latest venture, like figuring out like who are the right VC firms and funding groups for women and like demystifying the SBA loan process, like, all these things. But we've created a whole series of these for anybody who's going through a divorce, starting a business. But that's just the type of information that cuts out the hours of Google and the misinformation that you get through asking people. But that's just one way too, is, one of your clients is about to start a business or is thinking about divorce or whatever it may be. Fertility, right? Fertility is a big one these days. Giving them kind of those resources is a nice way to give them information so that they can be empowered to figure out what it is they want to start to do. But then also they realize that you're a resource and a source of kind of expertise, right? So that opens to the door for them coming back and having a conversation with you around those topics.
I love that you mentioned that it reinforces the concept that you as an advisor are an important and trusted resource, right?
Yeah.
And not just for like, how's my portfolio doing, right? That's important, of course, because the money creates the ability to live all these life goals you want to do, right? It's a tool for achieving and enjoying life. But seeing me as a resource so that I can go help you solve a problem that you have, that's how we should view each other. But particularly if it's a scenario where it's like, you're my financial advisor, like you're thinking of my future. That's your whole life is about thinking about my future, right? As an advisor. And so if I've got some things that may affect that future, I should feel comfortable coming to you, whether it's, you said like, hey, my wife and I are having some challenges. I think we need to talk to a marriage counselor. Well, you should have a list of marriage counselors for your clients, like the people that you refer people to, like, and let them know, like, if you ever have these types of problems, we've done the work here. I love that suggestion.
Yeah, advisors talk a lot about that trusted source. Yeah, but they think about it really, really narrowly in general, right? And if you want to be a trusted source, you're a trusted source for a lot of things. You're the person who's smart and done the work in advance and they feel like they can rely on for good advice. And that's about life and about all these different things. So I think, Lacy, this kind of idea where you've done the work and you've not only done the Googling, but you've talked to these people or you've referred business in the past. And so you know them, kind of the Angie's List for your clients in some ways.
Yeah.
And it's actually, so many things can be learned from the ultra high net worth family office model, because really, that's what they do, right? They provide all these additional resources to their clients, right? And I come out of that space where you were solving all of these problems. You were connecting your clients. I mean, obviously the client services group was paying bills and was taking care of a lot of things, but getting their children internships, right? These are the types of things that makes you invaluable. It makes you that go-to person in their life, right? And it doesn't mean that you always have to have the answer on the spot. I think there's so much power in the fact that you are like, these are the right people for you to go to. Like, I'm going to connect you to the other expert, like you don't try to answer questions that you don't know or come up with things on the spot. Instead, you're like, don't try to be their marriage counselor, right? But have a list of the best marriage counselors, right? So, but it shows you that you are, that you're the best person to go to get the right information or get connected to the right person that they need. So it makes you indispensable.
I love that you just mentioned, like, look at the family office model and then find a way that you could deliver some of those things. Because, look, the family office model is very expensive and it's for ultra high net worth.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, like, they have people who pay bills. They'll supply a dog walker if you need it. They'll fly and open up your ski house for you and make sure the staff is ready to go if you've got the money. But there are things you could do. Like, by the way, there are bill pay services online. Well, maybe as an advisor, you go and do a little bit of review. Like, what are all the different bill payment services online? What's the pros and cons of each one? And maybe you share that with your clients, right? Like, these are the ones that we would suggest. And that's really helpful, right? Because they didn't have to do the digging. You're the guy they trust or lady they trust when it comes to finances. And here's another little bonus for the advisors. One thing I've heard over and over and over again from executives at broker dealers, advisors at larger firms, or even individual advisors is content. We need good content to share because none of them are good writers, particularly. They hate the generic content that the broker dealer provides them to just share that everybody else has shared. Well, how about this? Just a quick little, hey, we did some analysis on bill payment services. Here's some interesting ones. We're thinking this might be the best one. So if you're looking for it, or hey, I need to give my kid a bank account, his first bank account. Where should I go to get the bank account so he has a debit card so when he goes out, I don't have to hand him cash all the time. Do that type of simple work for your client, right? Yeah. It'll pay in spades.
No, and completely. And actually, so what Willow is effectively it helps advisors to provide a family office to their clients. And we are a content engine. And so when you're thinking about women or life journeys, we have thousands of articles and on-demand courses, and it's all written sort of by women, for women, or for the LGBTQ plus community, or focused around like going through a divorce, becoming widowed. But so with all the topics you mentioned, we have content on, and obviously there's other folks out there who you can partner with for content. But that's one of the things too, is like content takes time and it's super expensive, but there's available content out there that you can get relatively cost effectively, right? That's one of the things that we do is we provide that, like our clients can then co-brand or use our content for their own clients. So there's definitely ways that you can cut corners too, because everybody's got so much on their plate these days. And it's like, and for, some people love to write and love to research, and other people are really uncomfortable with that. Right. And it's really, it's kind of daunting. So you don't necessarily have to go and reinvent the wheel. Like, you can leverage like these turnkey cost-effective services, like such as Willow, to be able to bring that personalized, kind of high touch and engaging content to your clients.
That's right.
And social media has sort of made the idea of curation another option, right? So it isn't just you have to generate the client, the content, or you don't need to, buy it only, right? That's one source, but you can supplement it by reading an article that addresses one of these things and sharing it with your clients with a few comments on it.
Completely.
And you get a lot of the benefit that way. Now, of course, you want some content that feels like it's coming from you. And that's why Willow's so valuable, right? Because you do get more benefit, but you can still do something if you just find an article and you be the curator.
sending an article with like 1-2 lines of why you found it to be valuable is one of the best ways to engage. I mean, the shorter, the better, but that's timely and it's relevant. That is an excellent way to kind of engage with your clients and help them be smart and knowledgeable, right? That's another way you're making yourself indispensable.
Well, because you're focused on things that they may not have time to focus on. I mean, that's, and you,
totally.
Everybody talks about like, Google could be ruining kids these days, because they don't have to like learn math because they can just Google the answer or whatever. But knowing how to look for the right information is just as important, right? As it's not about, hey, we can all find the information. It's like, did you find the right information? Yeah. Did you know how to parse the information? Yeah. Did you know what you're looking for, right? So we go back to the payment thing. It was like, do you know what separates different types of payment platforms to use if you wanted to have one? Like, what would make one better than the other? Well, as an advisor who's somebody who actually knows finance, you could study that just a little bit. You've done some little bit of legwork and given some of the answers. Or if your clients are in the tech industry and that's who you tend to serve. Okay, well, what are some things that the people in the tech industry might want to know about? You get knowledgeable about their business, but you start sharing certain things that are relevant to them, like, things to know about stock option plans or whatever, right? You can just go through that type of stuff and kind of, as John said, curate that type of information. You don't have to be the one who writes it. You just have to know where to go get it.
Very much so.
And how to share it.
Yeah. And I think, Mike, you had brought up, I don't know if it was you, Mike, or John, but one of you had brought up the point about like, doing like a list of questions, Q&A, that if your clients opt into, right? If they opt into this, which could be on the LinkedIn group or Facebook group, but they might have a question that someone in your network or one of your other clients is an expert in that space, right? Yep. So this is like, that's that like, rather than just going to Google, like having that ability to get access to to some firsthand expertise, like through this exclusive network that you've created.
It seems pretty clear that developing a community is a huge benefit for clients, but also for prospects and a great potential attractor for prospects.
Very much so.
Can reduce, churn if you've got any churn. And I'm curious how have you seen that play out with the advisors you work with, in terms of additional success prospecting or, better retention or maybe better referrals?
Yeah, no, it definitely, it's incredibly powerful, right? I mean, I was just at an event for women entrepreneurs. We're coming out of Women's History Month. And so I think a lot of people smartly use that as an opportunity to engage, and it was a private bank who stacked a room, right, with women entrepreneurs who were all prospects and who were all super impressed and walked out of that room. I'm already a client of that bank, but like walked out of that room wanting to become a client, and getting kind of access to the information that was super, super valuable to them. And that's something like that is not difficult to do. And, and then you're using because it's around your niche or your expertise. So your clients are bringing their friends. And one other thing with women is that they're 25 to 30%, women clients are 25 to 30% more likely to make referrals. So if you have women clients, it's a really good way. If you can give them content that is going to be interesting to them, they'll send it on to their network, right? And they'll bring a friend. And if they can't make it, like, they'll send somebody in their absence.
I love it. So get more women clients and get them together. Create an event is what you're saying.
And get them to refer their friends, right?
Exactly right.
Refer their friends.
It is so funny how, I have experienced this, me personally, participating in groups online or in person really makes a huge difference. Like going to events or hosting events, kind of bringing this full circle here. It's huge. You'd be surprised and it's not that much work to get these things off the ground, if you will. It is work. It's not it's not that it's zero work, but it doesn't take much work to say, hey, I want to get a group of folks together. I'm going to find a restaurant that has a night where they want some more patrons. We're going to get together at XYZ restaurant. We have some beers and some tacos. Topic of the night is going to be this. Come on by. First of all, everybody's looking to get out of the house, which is great. So they want to get down there, and they remember you fondly for the one who set it up.
Yeah. Well, we talked about that, but this is probably one of the best times ever to try to host an event because, pre-pandemic, people were kind of at event fatigue, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was excited to take, in some ways, to take some time off. But now, people are, are starting to look, they're excited to leave the house. They're excited to get dressed up again.
Yeah.
And so this spring is probably a great time to do something. And a higher likelihood that you'll drive higher attendance amongst your audience than you would typically.
Love it. John, you mentioned this in the prep call, but I want to just hit it a little harder. You talked about a community creating a bit of a barrier to exit. I love that phraseology because I've never actually heard that phrase used before. I wonder if you could dive in, John, a little bit onto like what you meant by that and how do you see that working here?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, a technology entrepreneur, right? You think about strategy, and one of the things you want to do is create so much unique value that your customers can't get it elsewhere.
Completely.
Right? And the same kind of idea can be possible for financial advisors with unique values they create. And if you think about their own client base as the source of value, it's entirely unique, right? It's their client base. It's no one else's.
Totally.
So all of those points of value, whether it's a mix of entrepreneurs or, people who have a passion around sports or, whatever that is, if you can tap that and get that to come together and create a community out of it that all of your clients benefit from, that community doesn't exist anywhere else on planet Earth. Right. So if you find that valuable, leaving becomes impossible because you're going to give that value up and it can't be replaced.
I love it. Back in the old days, used to call that lock-in, right? Like, conversion cost to move off of an enterprise software company was really difficult, right?
That's the evil empire version.
That's the evil empire, right? Exactly. But now, I say this all the time, and is that as in a financial advisor at high level, your business is somewhat commoditized. And I know nobody likes to hear that, but everybody sells the same stocks, bonds, mutual funds. We all have access to the same stuff.
Yeah.
So the way to differentiate is obviously your clients are choosing you because of you. There's something there. They related to you and you offer something, even if it's just your personality that the other lady or the other guy didn't offer.
Yeah.
And then you can, kind of add to that by, again, creating a sense of community, making them feel a little more connected, making them feel like you are a deeper, more trusted resource than they could ever get anywhere else. And so it kind of creates its own barrier to exit / lock-in, if you will, without it being nefarious, right, John? Very cool. We're getting up against our time together, but I just want to kind of bring things home real quick with you, Lacy, here, because, one of the things that you're doing there with Willow that I to me, just like lit me up was that you're creating this kind of this connective tissue for your client base, right? In your case, Willow is all about helping advisors and helping women investors achieve their best lives there. But I wonder if you dive a little bit deeper into like what it is that you see with creating this connective tissue with your client base by focusing on kind of serving some of their unique needs.
Yeah, no, I love that connective tissue. It's such a perfect way to describe this relationship, because it really is about like not just providing the financial advice, but supporting and guiding, and how important it is to do that through these connection points that continue to provide value, even after your meeting with them is over, right? And the plan is set, then if you're really getting your community and your network to engage, you can provide further value, ongoing value that way. So, but one of the things to kind of think about what Willow does is we're all focused on helping financial advisors to do a better job at attracting and really kind of retaining and growing relationships with women investors by serving them better, by having content that's engaging and inspires action and it is what she's looking for. And also we have a network of financial life coaches who come in, and the best way to describe this relationship is that the financial advisor is the doctor right? The advisor is the doctor, and there's the expert, and he's providing, he's doing the surgery. You're providing that expert. You can't be replaced, right? You need the doctor, but your clients who are the patients, like you also need a nurse, right? And the nurse is there when you go off to the next patient to help to answer a lot of the questions and to provide sometimes that EQ or that shoulder to cry on, but also kind of taking that time to really kind of connect. So our network of primarily women coaches are sort of the nurses, right? Who are helping the doctors to better serve their patients and better connect with their patients, and also to serve way more patients and like grow their business and not just get kind of dragged down by having to go super deep with those patients who need like tons of help, which is not like necessarily the best use of your time.
Yeah. I love it. That good bedside manner, having somebody there to help create that. That's good. It's not an insignificant thing.
Well, and it's all of the work around it too, right? I mean, I don't know if either of you have been injured recently, but I hurt my knee playing soccer a few years ago. Went to the very expensive specialist that sort of serves the Celtics and the Bruins, et cetera. And two people flanked the doctor when he came in. One was there just to take notes and whatever, and the other one was sort of to do. Honestly, I don't even remember what. Yeah. But it was totally leveraged time from the doctor, right? Yeah. Doctor didn't do anything that wasn't doctoring. Yeah. Yeah. And financial advisors could have a similar model with a team like Willow on their side.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic.
That's it. You're providing deeper value, but also doing it much more efficiently and productively so that you're able to grow your business, right? Yeah. And provide more value to your clients at the same time.
Fantastic. Well, I think we crushed it today. I have a feeling some folks are going to want to follow up with you, Lacy, and the team there at Willow. Best way for people to reach you, trustwillow.com is the website. How if somebody wanted to pick your brain a little bit more, how do they reach you specifically? LinkedIn, Twitter, where are you active?
Yeah, they can reach me on LinkedIn. It is the best spot online, or they can just email me at lacy@trustwillow.com. And come through our website, and would be delighted to connect.
Fantastic. Well, this will be awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Lacy.
Mike and John, thank you so much.
All right. See ya.
This is great.
Thank you very much for listening to and/or watching this episode of the Augmented Advisor podcast. It was fantastic to have you with us. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. Huge props to Lacy Garcia from Willow for joining us as well. It was a lot of fun investing some time exploring ways that you can grow your business while improving client retention. This is relatively easy stuff. It just takes a small amount of effort to get the ball rolling. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the show, please do make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and do us a favor. Make sure you give the Blue Leaf page a follow on LinkedIn. We share every episode of this show on LinkedIn, and we would love to have you as part of our community. Okay, that's it for today. Please make sure you're staying safe and be nice to each other. We'll see you next time on the Augmented Advisor podcast. See ya. Bye.